Singleton C. Anderson, or Professor Anderson as he became known, arrived in 1920 at the Pender County Training School. Educated at Hampton University, the alma mater of Booker T. Washington, S.C. Anderson combined an incredible work ethic with the conviction that young people could better their communities.
Oh, he lived here, and he was from Virginia, I think. But he just loved Rocky Point, and he was a member of St. Matthew Baptist Church, and he worked well with those people in that church, and his wife was a beautiful person. She was the home economic teacher. She taught us to sew, how to hem, and, use the machine, how to cook. I can remember some of those things now.
Oh, Mr. Anderson was a great man. He, whatever you wanted to know, and he knew, he would teach you. He weren't a person that, being he was a grown-up person all together already, that he didn't have time for you. He had time for everybody. He was quite a bit older than we were, but we used to race. That man. He was a fast man. He could outrun the average one. He was good with that way. He was fast with his hands. He could do most anything he really wanted to do. I just got a kick out of being around him. And he and I was, very close together. Very close.
I recall that he was a very loving, kind, and inspirational person. He was, and all of the young men really loved him. And wherever you would see him, you would see a crowd of young men gathered around him.
Well, he did a lot for the community. That's just it, everywhere. As a matter of fact, the house next door to me is one of the houses that he helped build. That's my understanding. And as I look back, I saw this big picture of this house in the newspaper, in a paper. They were talking about S.C. Anderson and how he went from house to house, or wherever, the children needed him to help with, building or construction of something in the community. He was just well known.
Sometimes he would go out in the communities, and visit the people and find out what people wanted to do. And if there was a farmer who didn't have the skills needed to plant or raise a certain crop, he would go to their homes or to their farms and help them.
He had about anything he wanted in that shop. He had a turning lathe, which you could make tables. You could make table legs. If you wanted to make a bed, you could make a bed. If you wanted to build a house, he would teach you that. You know how to build a house. The first time I heard of square roots, I didn't know what in the world it was talking about, the Pythagorean theorem. But he was not a math teacher, but he was familiar with that enough that he could teach you the square roots.
He wanted us to make sure that we were able to go places and see different things. He would take his personal car and take us shop students, and we would go to Raleigh to the States Fair. We all had to make written statements about what we saw, what we learned there, or whatnot. We bring it back to the whole class.
Oh, they wanted us to do the best we could and be the best we could. And it wasn't just education, it was the whole individual, the whole person, and not just one aspect of it. They were for education. And what was different then than it is now, I think the teachers took more time with the children, had a greater interest in them, wanting them to learn. I mean, that was just really it. They went from house to house to, you know, and they weren't afraid, if the child needed to be in discipline.